Coming up in this segment, actually on the phone, is Jeff Hirsch, Chief Marketing Strategist, Editor, and CEO of Stock Traders Almanac. You know him from regular appearances on CNBC, Bloomberg, and Fox Business. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. What's going on?
Well, it's if you just heard, we got a real insight on what artificial intelligence and where it's going for Mervyn. It kind of scared me a little bit, but I'm bringing it all back together here. So
a little frightening.
A little frightening. Look, what's really neat about your story, Jeff, and I'm just going to bring it right back to personalizing it because
Sure.
Your dad started the Stock Trader Almanac 50 years ago. What a family business. I mean, it's got to be an amazing thing for you.
I grew up in it, man. I started out in the mailroom and then running numbers on an adding machine and filling them out in graph paper with a pencil.
Is that what it was like? You literally
a lot of numbers by hand. I learned from the people he had working for him how to run an adding machine with one hand.
So tell me about how was it published back then, and what was kind of your dad's strategy for the Stock Traders Almanac?
Well, he was working with a cousin of ours, Sam Coslow, at a place called Indicator Digest, which was a newsletter proving ground back in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Out of Palisades Park, New Jersey, and Sam started the business and brought Yale in to run operations. And over the next few years, he, had this epiphany working with all these indicators to put them in, calendar format so that you could follow the market's calendar along with your own. And he incorporated the Hirsch organization in 66, spent the next 18 months or so putting the whole book together, doing all the research, compiling all the cycles and patterns and trends that were out there, coming up with new ones, and published the thing, and then hired a salesperson to go door to door all the brokerage firms in New York City and elsewhere, and it hit, and everyone liked it. So we've been doing it for 51 years now. The 51st is coming off the press this week or early next. I'm waiting to hear if we got books yet, but
I mean, that's really huge.
It continues to work and continues to be effective for people, and that's enabled us to make it available and continue to do this for 5 decades.
I mean, absolutely amazing. And the question is, how many people have utilized kind of what you guys did? And now, so much is happening with technology and doing all the analytics and the analysis of these stocks. And so your dad was at the forefront of all that.
He was an iconic thinker and thought leader and developer of seasonals and recurring patterns and trends for frequency and magnitude. Some have fallen by the wayside, others have been added. He evolved with the market, changed things over the years, but he was brilliant and a genius, and this year's edition was dedicated to him. He is still with us. He will be 94
Nice.
In October, towards the end of the month. And, it's a testament to his brilliance.
It truly is. How has the Stock Traders Almanac changed today? What does it look like today?
Well, I did a little retrospective in the 2017 edition. The physical form has changed a little bit, from softer covers to harder covers to concealed wire-o to semi-concealed wire-o to exposed wire-o to hardcover to that sort of thing. We've rearranged the calendars. We've added more data. We've dropped some indicators or patterns that stopped working, like the September reverse barometer, just as an example. It's just continues to evolve. We've taken some great suggestions from readers and colleagues. Continue to glean the universe for new patterns and investment techniques.
Let me ask you, Jeff, you also run your own fund.
Actually, it's not my own fund. It is like the story of the Hair Club president, where he loved it so much that he became an owner or the president. So I found or came in touch with a gentleman by the name of Joseph Childrey, who's out in California, and he, great story, took the Almanac on a safari trip at the firm. A.G. Edwards, he was a branch manager, forgot to bring reading material, grabbed the almanac that he would always given off the table. You know, Ben Edwards used to give it to him every year, and read it for 2-3 weeks, and came back convert, trend, follower, believer. Started trading his own account. Started a hedge fund in '08, made money in '08, and converted it to a mutual fund December 2013, as well as putting it into another 40 Act VIT, annuity.
Now, Jeff,
and we've been beating the market for the past almost a 10-year record, up 170% versus 107 for the S&P.
We're going to talk more about that in just a minute. I hate to do this to you, but we have to take a break. But
okay.
Hold that thought, because those numbers are just monstrous, and I want to really talk more about that. You've been listening to CEO Money. We're going to be right back with Jeff Hirsch, Chief Marketing Strategist, Editor, and CEO of Stock Traders Almanac. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to CEO Money. We've been talking with Jeff Hirsch, Chief Marketing Strategist, Editor, and CEO of Stock Traders Almanac. Welcome back.
Hello.
Hey, Jeff. Welcome back to the show. All right, so before the break, you were just giving us some numbers of what you guys have been doing. Let's just go ratchet it back a little bit and talk about what you were right before we went to break.
Well, I was talking about my getting in touch with Joe Childrey, who started Probabilities Fund, who brought me in now as Chief Market Strategist. And it's the only system, the only strategy, the only fund I've come across in all my years that really took their lead from Stock Traders Almanac and created a strategy that effectively trades every day the patterns in the Almanac plus a few other things, and has outpaced the market. And our mission is to provide liquid alternative strategies that add alpha over the long haul, and that's what we've done.
Mm-hmm.
And we use our own brand of seasonal market timing to time that market and be in and out of the market, reflecting historical times that the market has been more likely to be up or down, using frequency and magnitude over the long haul. So it's back tested and proven, and there's a auditable track record going forward. That's just impressive and solid, and it really fits into, we're in the camp of not 60-40 anymore, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, but 50-30-20 with that 50% stocks, 30% bonds, and 20% being alternatives, and that's where we see ourselves fitting in clients' portfolios.
Okay, so many of our viewers and listeners are, they are the everyday guy. They need some kind of simple terms. They need. What would you suggest a young millennial investor? He wants to get into the game. He's kind of hitting his stride, making some income. What would you say to the early new investor?
I think it's important to work with an advisor, especially someone who is working actively and doesn't have all the time to make sure that they're covered correctly. And, Stock Traders Almanac is a good way to introduce yourself to the market. Read the Wall Street Journal, grab an IBD, pay attention to the financial news at the end of the day, something a little bit more summary, like the nightly business report or Wall Street Week or something along those lines, and not just the flashing headlines and news on the other cable news networks.
That's the scary thing, because that's what's thrown in our face constantly.
Read Barron's. Do something that's a little bit, don't get caught up into the day-to-day hype, but don't get sucked into these little, tips and stuff. And in the back of the Almanac, there's a place to keep track of tips. Say, you hear from Jeff Hirsch to buy, biotech ETF in August. And the reason is the seasonality. You write that down and see how he did and the price that he told you about, and then maybe you want to listen to Jeff or whoever else you want to get information from. And the key to investing, once you have a well-diversified, well-thought-out portfolio, is to sell your losers short and let your winners ride, is one of the things that people have trouble doing, going against their emotion. Different, with some of the probabilities fund, that's a long haul trade, and we're there to protect against downside moves and to leverage up on the times in the markets will most likely be bullish. But those are some of the things I would tell somebody.
Jeff, we sure appreciate it. Can they get information, too, on your website?
Sure. They can go to probabilitiesfund.com, and the ticker is PROTX for the mutual fund. And if you want to get information about the Stock Traders Almanac, you look at stocktradersalmanac.com.
Jeff, we sure appreciate you coming on the show very, very much. It's been Jeff Hirsch, Chief Marketing Strategist. He's also, are you the CEO and editor of the Stock Traders Almanac?
Yeah, and the Hirsch Organization, and Chief Market Strategist of Probabilities Fund.
Perfect. I got that wrong early, but thank you for clarifying.
It's a mouthful.
Thanks so much for being part of the show, Jeff.
Thank you very much for having me.